Blue Hands Red Review here, guys. So it's been a while since I released a video, but I have 17 subscribers now, so I thank all 17 of you. Unfortunately, in order to make any money, I have to have at least 1,000 subscribers, so I need 983 more. Also, according to YouTube Studio profile, I need 4,000 hours, and I only have 167 public watch hours. So I need a lot more before I can start earning money. But I'm going to let you guys know when I do start earning money. I guess I should say if I do start earning money. Okay, so today we're going to be doing a review of 9 different black paint, ink, pigment, call it whatever you want, outlining markers. What is the best for outlining? So outlining, when you're doing art, that is when you'll draw the base layer or background, and then you'll have to outline around it in black to create more contrast. So we have a whole bunch of different pens and paint markers, and I'm going to test each of them and see which one is the best. We'll be testing the markers on 2 different canvases. The first will be United States Post Office label 228 sticker label. The second canvas will be a vinyl sticker with an adhesive back. So we're going to start with the most common, most familiar marker for you if you live in the United States. And I almost guarantee that you've seen this type of marker. And this is the Sharpie Permanent Marker. It's classic, it's ubiquitous, very sharp, very classic. Got a nice point that allows for very thin lines, very accurate lines. The Sharpie Permanent Marker Finepoint. You get this at Walmart for $3.70 for 2. Now I thought they would be cheaper, but I guess it is still a little pricey, so $1.85 for 1 seems a little high. These are everywhere, very common. This marker's been around pretty much forever. I remember seeing it growing up as a kid. They were everywhere, very common, and you guys will be very familiar with it. You can see it runs a little bit on this surface, on this porous surface. Pretty sharp. So you can tell using it on this vinyl canvas that it's a little gray. You're not really getting that dark black you like to see for outlines. We definitely have some gray, some diluted marker there, so it's not as dark as we would like. Next up is the Jot Permanent Marker. So this is again a more common marker you might see along with the Sharpie marker. Cap comes off pretty easily. It's got a very similar tip to the Sharpie, a little bit thicker tip. The Jot Permanent Marker, you can get 8 of these markers for $8.47. So they're $1.05 each. So you can see it's a lot thicker lines, so it's going to be harder to be articulate, but thicker lines aren't necessarily a bad thing. Again, pretty porous. You see it bleeding in to that canvas pretty well. Now here you can really tell it starts to show its quality. Look how you see how gray that is. Very dilute, not much pigment. There isn't much ink, not much pigment, not much dye in this marker. It's very watered down. Bic Intensity Black Permanent Marker. We're only doing permanent markers here. That's a nice grip, nice rubber grip. So that's definitely, I would say, an improvement over the Sharpie marker. The Bic Intensity Finepoint Permanent Marker. So you get this in a 12 count box for $10.73. This marker costs 89 cents. So fairly cheap permanent marker, 89 cents for one of them. So again, not very dark marker at all, very dilute. It's not absorbing all the light that we want. We want a thick, dark marker for outlining. So this is definitely not ideal. You can see how translucent it is almost. It's very gray. Medium tip, permanent marker. Very nice looking, very sleek, very nice matte finish. Accented with a chrome pocket clip. Comes off very easily. Now you can see the tip on this one is very fine. Very thin tip. It's a felt-like tip. You get these on Amazon. It's $12.15 for 12 of them. So it comes out to $1.01 each. Not the cheapest, not the most expensive. Very articulate, very good thin lines. Pretty dark black too. For thin lines, very dark black. So we're getting very fine lines. So this is nice for very intricate outlining. You can see minimal bleeding into this porous canvas. So that's also an additional quality compared to these others that bleed a lot. Very sharp, the pigment stays in place. Now here again, it's not very good in the vinyl. We're getting a lot of gray here. A lot of gray. If it even writes, you can see how it's bubbling up. So this is doesn't seem very permanent, right? It's already bubbling up. It's not sticking on the canvas very well at all. The marker itself is very thick. The tip is chiseled tip, which allows for very thick writing quickly, but it sacrifices the thin lines of it. You can't write really articulately with it. Sharpie, king size permanent marker. This thing is a beast. It's a nice feel to it, very thick. It's $5.04 for two of them at Walmart. So it comes out to $2.52. Pretty pricey for what you're getting. I mean, you can get the normal Sharpie for a lot less money than that. But, like I said, it's got more ink, more pigment in it, more paint in it. So very thick, but you're getting that kind of gray color that's not really ideal on this one, number 5. So ideally we want a very thick and dark black that absorbs all the light for outlining. This is very thick, number 5. This is a pretty familiar brand for people that draw a lot. It's called Posca. I believe they're made in Japan. You gotta shake it because it's a traditional paint marker. Very common, very affordable, relatively speaking, easy to get. They have them at most art stores. Uniposca black paint marker, 3M. PC3M. These are everywhere. Very common paint marker for artists. They also came with some sticky notes when I bought them on Amazon for $16.99. However, the sticky notes didn't work at all. Not even one sticky note stuck at all. So the sticky notes is pretty big rip-off. Doesn't really add any value. These markers are not cheap at all. So they're $3.40 for one. So very expensive. Now, they work pretty well. I have had some issues with flow rates sometimes when the paint will come out too quickly and kind of make like an oil spill blob, but pretty rare with this type of marker. The bigger issue with this type of marker is the colors aren't very saturated sometimes, so you get more of a gray color. You're not getting those very bright saturated colors. Look at those nice thin lines we're getting. That's very nice, very articulate marker, very minimal bleed. It's very nice. Nice dark. You can really tell the difference how dark that is compared to these other ones. You need to get a nice thick coating. Yeah, it's really nice thin. I've had some issues with Poscas though. They dry a much lighter color and sometimes they crack when they dry. But I mean, this is the bread and butter. You can see it start to dry already. See how it's drying kind of a gray color? So we want it to dry a more black, a glossy black. So it looks, when you first write with it, it looks really nice. But when it dries, it turns into a grayish color, which isn't ideal at all. A faded gray. Oil-based Sharpie black pen. The tip, very nice looking. Pretty standard, round, very round. The Sharpie oil-based paint black medium point marker. You can find these at Walmart. And they're $3.73, so pretty expensive. The color is better than the Posca marker. It's thicker, more tar-like, very deep black, saturated black. I love these oil-based. You're getting very good glossy black. However, these do tend to blob sometimes when you're using them. Over time, they will blob out and just ruin what you're working on. So I don't know if this is something that Sharpie needs to work on to correct the flow rate. Something with the reservoir to make it come out more uniformly. I like them, but I don't use them anymore because it's just too risky. I'm not going to spend an hour on a project and then have 30 seconds where I get a big blob and it ruins the project. So very available. You can get them at any Walmart. I see them. They're becoming more common now. But like I said, right now I wouldn't recommend this marker. I mean, you get one big blob and you have issues. And they aren't cheap. $3.73, it's pretty expensive, almost $4 for just one. Very nice dark black that's really absorbing a lot of the light. Look at that nice contrast. And all of a sudden, all the paint will come out at once and it will ruin whatever you're working on. And I found that to be unacceptable because you'll be working on something for a few hours and then all of a sudden it just dumps all this paint on you and ruins what you're working on. But honestly, it's way better than the Posca. Look at that thick black, almost tar-like paint we're getting for this number 7 Sharpie. And if you can compare that to the Posca, I mean, it's a whole world better than the Posca. I mean, you can just tell how thick and black that is compared to the Posca's grayish color. So, I like it a lot more, but it's just, you can't really use these because it's like an oil spill. This is a Marsh 88 black paint marker. Very nice marker. I've been using these for years. I'm a huge fan of Marsh 88. Nice fat tip. Marsh 88 FX Permanent paint marker, pigment type. So I really like these markers, but they are very difficult to get. The minimum order I could do to get these markers is $120.54 from Uline, and you have to buy 12 at a time. $3.34 per marker, which is pretty expensive. $3.34 for one Marsh 88 paint marker. But they do last a long time. I've had some sitting around used and maybe 4 or 5 years, and then I find it and they still work amazingly after 4 or 5 years. The dye doesn't dry up. They still run fine. These are high quality markers. This is honestly one of my favorite markers, even though they don't really market themselves as an art marker. It's more of like an industry, factory type marker. But I've had great success using them as art markers. The only downside to them is really you can't draw a fine tip. They're not very articulate because they are so thick, a little thicker. But the paint quality is stellar. You get very nice coat of paint, very dense dye, very dense pigment, getting very saturated colors, and they just work. No overbleeding. Quality markers, hard to get, have to buy through Uline. A lot of stuff I find on Uline is kind of a ripoff, very expensive. I used to work at a place, and we would get a lot of our stuff from Uline. We got a trash bag. Now, it was a very large volume trash bag, but they cost $50 for one trash bag from Uline. So, I looked on Amazon, but they're not any cheaper. But highly recommend the Marsh 88 markers. One thing I really like about Marsh 88 is that they never clog. Look at that nice thick black line. It's very nice, absorbing a lot of that light. Very nice paint marker. Very thick, very nice, flows very easy. I've never had one of these clog on me at all. And I've used probably tens of them. Look, very glossy. Look at that thick, glossy black. Just like that Sharpie. Goes on really nice. Our last marker is Unipaint. Medium line, PX20. Marks the most surfaces. Opaque, oil-based paint marker. The tip is very similar, round, medium tip. The Unipaint, medium line, PX20, opaque, oil-based paint marker. So these are a newer type marker. I've been using these for about a year, and I like them a lot. They give the high quality, kind of like the Sharpie paint marker, but even thicker and darker, more like the Marsh 88. I paid $16.66. For just 5 of them. So it comes out to $3.33 for just one paint marker. And more worrisome is they have the cancer rating on it. It says intentional misuse by deliberately concentrating and inhaling this product can be harmful or fatal. Direct contact. So I don't know if these are carcinogen or not. Maybe someone can type in the comments how safe these are or unsafe they are. They do work very well. Great for layering. They don't mix. Very nice marking. The icon logo on them looks like it's from the 70s or 80s, but also the cap doesn't really go on. I like a cap that clicks so you know it's airtight and you're not going to dry out the ink reservoir. The cap on these, you can't even tell if it's really on. You really got to push it in. But very good marker, fade resistant, works outside great. quick drying. These are excellent markers. This and the Marsh 88 are both excellent markers. I mean, you're a pay for quality. This is almost 3 times the price of like a Sharpie marker, but you're getting more than 3 times the value with this thick black paint. It's not going away. It's staying. You're going to outline. You're going to make whatever you're working on pop. Now, one thing with these is the odor is very strong. So I'm not sure how good it is to breathe in a non-ventilated area. Additionally, there is a warning that's somewhat alarming. It says cancer, P65 warning. That's either .ca is either Canada or California. So these might not be good for you. I'm not sure, but they work pretty well. Look at that nice thick black. Honestly, that's about as good as black gets. Look how thick and black that is. Very nice marker. Writes very well. Look at that. Nice thick black. That's exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for a nice black marker that was going to last, absorb all the light, and create a lot of contrast. This is 2 weeks later after we have made the marks. There's significant fading going on here, especially with number 4. So that Papermate Medium Tip didn't hold up very well. But all the others held up okay. The best you can definitely tell are 7, 8, and 9. So that's the Sharpie oil-based paint marker, the Marsh 88, and the Unipaint oil-based paint marker. They held up very well. All 3 are still solid and still very thick.